I've been thinking a lot about those little projects that we label insignificant. So let's chat about that while I revisit an old finished object. Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I'm finding that not every project that we work on has to be a showstopper, or it doesn't have to be very complex to have a big impact for me. In fact, sometimes I think the things that we put off because they are so small will actually make us happier than casting on something else. This is that project for me. I don't have something extremely groundbreaking for you this week, but I do hope that this may inspire you or just remind you that even the smallest efforts matter. One of my goals for January was to revisit a recent finished object. Okay, I say recent, but this was cast off in fall of 2022, so that's still recent in my mind because 2023, as you can imagine, was an absolute blur. 2024 is turning out to be the same. This is the Wednesday sweater by Petite Knit. I love the design of this sweater. It's all I want in a sweater, to be honest with you. Casual fit, oversized collar, and I've even owned sweaters like this in the past, like store-bought sweaters. But as much as I love the design and as much as it spoke to me in the pictures, the finished piece just hasn't been cutting it for me. I wore it as much as you do when you freshly finish something. You wear it quite a bit, but then it quickly had an excuse attached to it every time I would reach for it. The collar just hasn't been working out, and I need to do something about it. So I'm frogging it. And you know, this would have been something way more painful for me after just working on the sweater, but it has been a year since this has been an active whip, so I just didn't have that kind of emotion towards it, and I was very comfortable just taking my scissors and hacking off the Italian bind-off that I spent quite a long time doing. Anyway, my desire to fix this neckline was just too great, so that's what I set out to do. And I should say that's what Arthur and I set out to do, because you'll see he's my little buddy throughout this entire project. He wanted to see exactly what was going on because I've mentioned this before, I don't really knit a lot when Arthur's around. I save that for the end of the day just because it's much easier, mostly. But with this project, I figured it would be a good one to do alongside him because I was just ripping the yarn out and winding up a ball. I mean, there was already a little destruction happening, so what harm could he really do? Plus, it could also be an interesting sensory activity. He was very interested in the little scraps of yarn. Not so much in the ball. I thought he would really like the yarn ball. For some reason, that kind of scared him. I think he was just more frustrated that it was attached to the sweater. But he did like the little bits. He was helping me pick up the little bits of when I cut the scissors or on the neckline. So that was very helpful. Thank you, Arthur. Let me throw it away. Okay, thank you. I saw a few comments in the last video asking how I would go about doing this. So basically what I'm doing here is, well, I just took some scissors and completely hacked off the Italian bind-off, like I said. I was too impatient to find the ends that I wove in, and to be honest, I wasn't really planning on saving the leftover yarn. As much as I'd love to be that person, I have no need for it, and I won't find purpose for it. So I've collected scraps in the past, and I just never do anything with them, so I wasn't concerned about that this time. And then it was just a matter of ripping my project back until I could figure out what length would suit me best. Because what I don't want to do is have it too short because the ribbing everywhere else is really long. You know what I'm saying? Like the ribbing on the bottom, the ribbing on the cuffs. What do you think? Exactly. I agree. Okay, we're gonna do that. Good job. High five. You all know about Squarespace. I talk about them a lot. They are the #1 sponsor of this channel, and I really appreciate that. Squarespace is my favorite platform to build a website. So as we kick off this year, one of your goals may be to strengthen your online presence, and I really believe that creating a website from scratch with Squarespace is the best way to do that. You can start simple by choosing from one of their beautiful themes and layouts, and then add features as you go. So start a newsletter, collect memberships, schedule appointments. Squarespace has a lot of features that cater to your needs.
So definitely check out Squarespace. There's a link in the description for you to start a free trial with them to play around and see what you think. Then when you're ready to launch, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using my code. So thanks Squarespace, and let's get back to the knitting.
We got the most beautiful snowstorm while I was working on this project. We rarely ever get snow, and I haven't seen this much in years. I want to say like 6 or 7 years even. And that was in the States, definitely not in Belgium. So it was really, really special to, yeah, just be snowed in. It's the kind of weather that you want to have when you're knitting. Like, I think all knitters love a good snow day. And this was definitely a great way to make sure that I was going to finish this project. So I finished frogging the neck to the length that I wanted. I checked by folding the collar in on itself. I didn't take measurements or anything, I just eyeballed it. And then I put my stitches back on the needles. The actual knitting could begin! But in reality, I wasn't gonna knit anymore, I was just gonna cast off. I picked up stitches to knit the collar, and what I wanna do is just fold it back in on itself. So I'm going to pick up those stitches and cast off all those stitches together. You should probably look up a tutorial if you're looking for a how-to on how to do something like this. It's a little difficult to explain, and I don't really have great footage of me doing this, so I would definitely recommend you look elsewhere for an actual tutorial. But basically, I was joining all the stitches together and casting off at the same time, so there really wasn't any knitting left. I just had to do that. I know I talked about this being a small and easy project, and it is, but that doesn't mean it didn't take me a few days to actually finish it, just so you know. And I guess that's why we also tend to put off this kind of thing, these kind of projects. It's like opening a can of worms, honestly. It takes more time than you think. I think that I thought that this was gonna take me the one day, and it ended up taking me 3 or 4. There are a multitude of reasons for that, but that's life, so yeah, again, there's no reason to have put off this project, and there's no reason to stop yourself from knitting or doing something that's small, like revisiting a project. It's just also important to have that reality check. You will have the reality check that it's gonna take a little bit longer, and that's everything in knitting. It's not just these kind of projects, it's all projects that I tackle. And I hear other knitters say these things too, like, oh, this is gonna be so quick, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's actually the case. I think we give ourselves more credit, or our hands more credit, or we put more pressure on ourselves than what's necessary. We don't always manage to get everything done in such a short time frame, and that is totally okay. You know, that's the point. It's slow. This is a slow hobby, something that you wanna do when there's nothing else to do, when you're snowed in, when you're nice and cozy. This is the type of hobby for that. So we should really embrace the fact that it takes such a long time for these kind of projects. So there you have it. That was my quick project for this week. Like I said, it's nothing really special, but then again, when we share our projects, we always want to show the bright and shiny, the really complex, the really exciting. But sometimes you can be just as proud of doing this, and I'm very proud of this piece. I'm glad to have given it new life. Again, it wasn't a really old cast off, so there was no reason for me not to want to work on this and to make it something that I will grab for all the time. At first, I was looking over the footage. I was thinking maybe this is too small to share. This just seems kind of insignificant. I feel like we downplay what we do sometimes. This is a big deal, you know? Being able to completely change the way that you look at a sweater, that's a huge thing, and we can do that as knitters. So I wanted to share this. I know it's not like the most complex thing, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I hope you take away from this video that it is worthwhile to do these smaller projects.
Even just the small alterations can make something feel new or make something completely feel different than what it did before. I'm not saying that this was groundbreaking, but I do think that it has changed my view of this sweater for the better, and I'm really happy that I took the time to do it, especially like I mentioned, investing all the time, the money into something like this. It would be a shame if I didn't appreciate it for what it is. So, a beautiful sweater. Now it's a beautiful sweater that I want to wear all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!